Alrighty, here we go. Back at it, sticking with the consistency. But anyways, I'm happy to be here. I'm in pretty good spirits at the moment, so let's get to it. I'll just really quick start off on how the day went. It was a pretty good day, if I'm being honest. Um, we spent so once again, if this is your first one, I'm a sixth grade teacher, and today we had a lot of activities, which was cool. So we spent the first part of the day from like 8 to 8:45 doing some math problems in groups. So the students, they sit in groups, and we just got some personal whiteboards, which is a cool tool to use. Passed them out and put the math problem on the board, let them get to work as a group, help each other collaborate, and if they were able to get the correct answer, I would give them a point. And so it actually worked out really well. Like most of the students were really engaged, really excited. Um, so we had a good time. And I think from the academic and learning side of it, it was really cool to see because it really pointed out what the students know and don't know. And in the situations where they didn't know, the hope was that somebody at the table, at the group, knew what they were doing and would be able to explain to everybody else. Um, and again, we had a good time doing it. So I would say a pretty productive time. And then at 8:45, 8:50, we walked over to the cafeteria to celebrate honor roll recipients, which was pretty cool. The whole school was there in the cafeteria, which it was pretty remarkable that we fit everybody in there, plus the parents and plus, some decorations and stuff like that. But overall, the ceremony went really well. Um, it was efficient. Like it was planned really well. Didn't take too long. It didn't feel like it dragged. The energy was high. Everybody was really excited for one another. So overall, really cool. And I had a cool moment personally. So after we had concluded the ceremony, the celebration, of course, parents wanted to grab pictures with their kids. And during that time, I had about like 10, I want to say 10 minutes, 10 minutes to hang out outside where there's a playground, and all the elementary students, second grade, I want to say, second and third grade, I was able to see. I saw a lot of kids that I knew from last year or I was just familiar with, and they were just so excited to see me and say hi. And I was same, like I was really excited to see them and say hi because for context, last year I was a yard duty. That was my first job at this school, so um, I had met a lot of these kids just being outside doing the yard duty, supervising them during lunch and recess, and had built really, really cool, really strong relationships with a lot of these kids. And given that I'm a sixth grade teacher now and I'm in the classroom all the time at the middle school, I haven't seen a lot of these kids in a long time, but I just went out. I stood like kind of in the middle of the playground area, whole blacktop, and a lot of them came up to me, and others that walked by, I would say hi. So it was really cool. That kind of stuff, it really fills my bucket. Um, like honestly, if yard duty paid, semi decently, I might honestly consider just being a yard duty all day because one, so it's related to being a teacher, but I really do enjoy um, working with young people. Uh, but then also, I really like playing. In recess is a time where you can play all kinds of things, right? Whether it be tag, basketball, soccer, football, running around the playground. So really, it wasn't work at all for me. Being a yard duty was actually a lot of fun, very rejuvenating. Didn't feel like work really whatsoever, unless like I had to fill out some paperwork for a student that got hurt or something. But yeah, all that to say, being outside for that 10 minutes and seeing a whole bunch of kids that I knew from last year really was a nice part of the day. So shout out to those guys and girls that remembered me, that stopped by to say hi. Um, really, really cool. But then after the kids finished taking their pictures, we the school decided to celebrate by letting them go to an arcade down the street, which was really really cool. So we walked over to the arcade. It was my first time being there, and they had set it up where all the games were for free, so the kids didn't have to. We didn't have to get coins or anything like that. And just walking around there and seeing all these kids excited and happy and playing with their friends also filled my bucket. Felt really good. And I definitely was playing games too, having a good time, mingling with them. Again, it's just within me, there's like the nature of being a kid and just playing and having a good time with your buddies. I think it's something I'll hopefully never lose. And playing with them is just like playing with my friends. And me trying to put myself in a position of being a young person. So overall, I think the kids had a pretty good day. Um, I definitely had a pretty good day at school. We came back, did a little bit of more work, and then interestingly enough, another interesting thing from today. What a day! What a week, actually. One of the bathrooms upstairs had started leaking, like a toilet probably started leaking, and unfortunately, the water started seeping into the ceiling, and you could see it from my classroom. So we had to, take care of that, move some stuff around, take all the kids to a different area. Nothing happened, at least nothing severe yet, but it'll be interesting to see how they're going to handle it tomorrow. I really have no idea. I didn't get to talk to the principal before I left, but it's all good. We'll figure it out. Tomorrow's Friday. We have next week off, so they'll have some time to get things sorted out. Hopefully, by the time we come back. But because of that, we weren't able to use the classroom. So I decided, you know what, it's all good. We're gonna go out to the courtyard, and I'm gonna let the kids just hang out and play. Uh, in the PE class, they were watching a movie, so some of the kids were able to join with that. And we did our usual thing. Some kids, I brought a Jenga set, so some kids were playing Jenga, and then some kids were playing dodgeball. So really, just kind of a chill day, hanging out at school, really. So I think the kids, you can always do some learning, which we did today. We honed our math skills, which I think is important. So there was some productivity, but a chill day, and I think the kids, need that because I do try to push them in the classroom, and there are days where the work is a grind. So I think it was a good day overall. And the last thing to mention on that piece is another thing that really filled my bucket surprisingly, which I didn't anticipate but did. This week has been parent-teacher conferences, and so we've gotten out early so that we could all have some time to meet with our students' parents. And although these conversations are like physically taxing and yeah, taxing just because I am fully engaged, I am trying to be fully present for these conversations. There is that toll, but I don't feel like mentally. I actually do feel somewhat rejuvenated, and yeah, rejuvenated I think is the right word to describe here. Um, in a lot of these conversations, it was my first time like really, really interacting with parents. Like I had some text exchanges, I would, communicate some things to go home, but no like extensive interaction. And so all of these conversations have been at least like 15 minutes, really deep, both about the student, about their goals, their background, and just getting to know what these parents hope for in their kids. It was just really cool and um, I guess like really motivating and a reminder of why I really enjoy this type of work because, again, working with young people, you're trying to build the foundations that'll get them going for the rest of their life. And that was one of the philosophies that I communicated to the parents. Like, yes, we want to do well in the sixth grade, but my the more important thing for me is really like building good habits so that you do well in seventh and eighth and then on to high school. So, and I think a lot of the parents were really receptive to that. And it was just cool to hear from the parents like what they think of their children and what they think they're good at and what they think they need to improve at. And um, on the flip side, like for a lot of them, hearing how their students are doing in the class was really like cool for them because these kids are growing and developing. Like some, for example, you'll have like, I didn't know they were like that, or I didn't know that they were um, so well behaved these days because, it wasn't like that in the past, or like some kids that are really shy and now like really opening up and speaking out and sharing with their friends. It's been really cool to see and hear all of that. So, um, yeah, even though there's been a lot of conversations, I feel like I've talked a lot, and funny enough, here I am talking extensively again. It was it's been a really cool experience, and I have a couple more tomorrow, and then we have a break. So it'll be good. I need the break. I need some time to just chill out, get away, and yeah, just, do my own thing for a little bit. Oh, man. But that was the day. Um, there are some cool things from this week that I do want to talk about. And I did jot it down just to be somewhat organized. Um, but here we go. So one of the things that kind of stood out to me from a podcast that I listened to, and I'm gonna look it up right now, but it's Modern Wisdom, one that I've brought up before, and who's the guest? The guest was Mark Bell. So Mark Bell is a world-record powerlifter, owner of Super Training Gym, and inventor of the slingshot. So he's on the Modern Wisdom podcast again with Chris Williamson, which I highly recommend. And there was something they talked about a couple things that were interesting to me. One of the first ones was this concept of the fragility of routines. And essentially, the idea around that is, especially in this day and age, we have a lot of tools and practices and strategies for people to optimize their day, to get the most, to be the most productive and the most efficient, which is, you know, for the most part, all great things because to help people get their work done better, more efficiently, more productively, sounds like a great thing and probably is a great thing. But what they had pointed out that can be the downfall of this is where um, if you don't do your routines, your preparations, all these strategies that you use to get yourself ready for the day to be most optimal, are you still able to get the job done? And it's so great. Like this one really stuck with me because um, it's actually been something that I've been thinking about a lot, like personally, because I listen to a lot. I try to gather information from so many different resources, and I've definitely come across, and I'm sure all people have at this point, like if you're on social media enough, like 5 tips for this, 5 best strategies for this, best way to start the day, best way to end the day, best way to get through the middle of the day. Like there's so much information out there. Again, a lot of it is super useful, but what these guys pointed out in this concept of the fragility of routines is that like when people don't get to do their routines, sometimes they fall apart, right? For example, if I don't have my morning coffee, I'm going to be irritable, I'm going to be moody and sleepy, and you're not going to want to be around me, right? Versus, okay, I didn't get to have my morning coffee, it's all good. Maybe I'm feeling it physically, right? But I'm still going to be able to be patient and understanding and, be the person I am on a regular basis. Or more broadly speaking, like if I need to get some work done and I haven't gotten my good sleep and I didn't get to have breakfast, again, I guess related to coffee, I didn't get to have my coffee and I didn't get to do my morning exercise and I didn't get to journal or meditate or do my yoga, whatever it may be, now my work is going to be hindered because of that. And I thought, for me personally, uh, I've definitely experienced, and I guess this is why I thought of it. Um, it stuck with me so much, is because I understand the concept of routines and optimizing for things, but I am the type of person that, so it's maybe it's like a human thing, but sometimes I get lazy, or sometimes, you just don't have time to get to those things, right? So there's a variety of reasons, or yeah, I guess we could work with that. And I still have to get the job done. I still have to go through my day and do whatever it is that I need to do. So I kind of, yeah, it's kind of funny, but one way you could phrase it is like you're just raw dogging life. Like, can you just wake up and get through the entire day feeling good about yourself, getting the job done without anything? Like, why do I need coffee, or why do I need my liquid IV, or my smoothie in the afternoon, or my exercise in the morning? Like, yes, having all those things would be great, but you should still be able to perform without all of that. So that was one thing that was really cool that stuck with me from that podcast. Another one was this idea that I guess it's kind of related, but like it's related to the concept of note taking. So for some people, myself included, like I'll try to jot down notes on almost everything that I've done in my life, or read, or come across, experience, whatever it may be, because especially if it's important or I think it could have some value down the road, um, I'll jot it down, and I'm kind of all over the place with it. So I got some Google Docs. I got notes that are stored directly on my computer. I got notes on the phone. I got notes on Google. So they're really all over the place. I got notes on the hard drive. Um, and what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, some people will say like that could be a little bit much, but for some people that works. But I guess the alternative to taking notes on almost everything is this concept of like, I forget how it's phrased, but I think it's a Tim Ferriss concept. Essentially, the idea is whatever is going to stick is going to stick. Like, whatever is the most important to you, like, you're going to be able to remember that. And it's going to be able to come up, and you're going to be able to recall and, go further into that if it sticks. So, that was another one. And then the last thing that they had talked about that was really interesting for me was this concept of like daring to be great, daring to be excellent, and to constantly raise the bar for yourself. And they were talking about like how, I guess to put it simply, there's this like people will get made fun of if they try really hard at something. Like if you see somebody trying really, really hard to do something, it's something that you could laugh at and be like, ah, look at them, like they're try hard, and it kind of what's the word for it? Like downplays their achievements, whatever it is that they're doing. It lessens that to some extent. And these guys, Chris and I think again his name is Mark Bell. Shit, I lost it. Yeah, Mark Bell. They were saying like, nah, like be okay with that. Trying hard is a sign that you're working towards something valuable, at least for you personally. So if people are gonna make fun of that, like F them, fuck them, really. So that was something else that was really cool. And I had an example that I wanted to mention with this is like in pickup basketball, you don't really see people taking their warm-ups seriously. And then maybe some people don't even know like what the proper warm-up is. But the point that I'm trying to make is like if you were to go play pickup basketball and you saw somebody going through like a super thorough methodical routine to get warmed up to play pickup basketball, I'm sure you'd get some people that would look at that person and be like, dang, look at them over there. What a fool. They really got to get warmed up for some pickup. Like, how silly. Like, why not just get warmed up when you're playing? Whatever, whatever. Um, and yeah, I thought about it. It was an easy example because I myself have been in this position. So there was a period of time where, you just go straight into the game, get started that way. But after like having some personal injuries and then, yeah, just having some personal injuries, I really started to take exercise a lot more seriously and like rehab and prehab, this concept of like doing exercises to mitigate injury. Um, I started to take that really seriously. So I did incorporate some type of warm-ups before I would start playing. And now, especially that I'm a basketball coach, basketball trainer, I take it even more seriously because it's something that I believe all athletes should be taking seriously, if they take their sport seriously. So I've definitely been there where I felt like a loser, or I felt like people would look at me and be like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" Whatever the case. For me, I was able to get over it because, ah, I guess humble brag here. Like I had a feeling most of the, like I had supreme confidence in my abilities essentially. Like I'm at this point in my life and really for a long time, I felt confident in my basketball abilities. Like I could play with most people outside of like, you know, the super high level athletes, Division 1, Division 2, and so on. But most people, even the people that do take basketball very seriously, like I am a competitor when it comes to this, and I am good at it. I know that. Um, so it's really interesting, like people, especially when you play against people you don't know. And I've heard this many times, so it's not like something that is random. But people will be like, "Dang, bro, before I met you, before I knew who you were and saw you play, like I'd be like, dang, this guy doesn't look like a basketball player. Like he just looks like any other casual guy just playing pickup." And then once we get to going, like people, whoa, 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 I gotta take this dude seriously. So that was always really cool, to get those kind of reactions. So in my mind, I got over like the feeling of being embarrassed, of like warming up and doing exercises to get ready for pickup. I was like, yeah, in my mind, I know I'm about to cook. So, and that's what usually happens. Not all the time, but I usually get to cooking. So, yeah, pretty cool. Again, the idea with this was daring to be great and trying really hard at things and not being embarrassed by that and not paying attention, like not letting people making fun of that get to you, essentially. So I thought that was really cool. One more thing that they talked about that I thought, oh no, this is from a different podcast, actually. It was with Lex Friedman, again, a person I've brought up here quite a bit. and this guy named Chamath. I'm gonna try to pronounce this best I can. Palihapitiya. Um, Highly recommend. Just came out. I listened to it again. I'm a podcast fiend, so I binged that. But yeah, I didn't binge it. I just incorporated it into my day when I wasn't doing anything else. So I breezed through it essentially. Excuse me. But they talked about a lot, and I can't recall at the moment. My working memory is pretty taxed. But there was one thing that they did talk about that stuck with me, which was the concept. Like they were talking about success and what success looks like, and I guess to put it simply, Chamath was like, everybody's version of success is really personal and different for them. So there's no right way to be successful. Which was it's different, right? Like this guy is like CEO, big time investor, big time in tech. So he's quite successful, right? Like by I guess societal metrics. But here he was explaining to Lex that yeah, it's really different for everybody, and we shouldn't try to encourage like a concept of success. Like it really looks different for everybody. And I think that was his point. Listen to it if you want to get into it. Lex has timestamps. So I'm sure if you go to the timestamp on success, that's probably where it's at. Um, but yeah, so the one thing that I wanted to bring up with this is the idea of taking the big shot. Um, and I guess it's like being willing to make mistakes. That was another thing that Jamal had brought up quite a bit is like, you got to be willing to make mistakes, make them fast, and learn from them fast. That's kind of like a motto from the Silicon Valley, I want to say, for like the past 15, 20 years. Um, it might not apply as much anymore because we're entering a different time. Yeah, the tech space is evolving and there's a lot of, things to be figured out, I guess is a good way to put it. Um, but what was I trying to say? Yeah. So the being willing to take the big shot and that is something that I've been thinking about a lot personally too. Again, because I play basketball quite a bit and I watch sports a lot, which I have something really cool to share in a second. But for me personally, when I'm playing these days, I really try my best to be a team player. Like I really like getting other people involved. I like when the ball is moving. I like when everybody is hitting shots and contributing to the score. But I also, there are times where, and this is definitely a concept in all of sports, where I am not as aggressive as I could be, right? And maybe we'll end up losing a game not because of that, but we'll lose a game, and then I'll think to myself, like, yeah, I was probably too passive in that game. Had I been a little bit more aggressive and looking for my own shots, perhaps we could have won. And this especially comes to situations where uh, uh, the game is really close and it's like close to game point. I'll still be aggressive, but it's more so like I'm trying to create shots for other people. Like I'm trying to create a good opportunity for someone else, as opposed to looking for my own shot and trying to create an opportunity for me. But and then also one more thing, I guess, nuanced and tangent and details, because that's the nature of these things called podcasts, which is really cool. Uh, my play style, I believe that I can get to the basket pretty much on almost everybody. I'm really good at getting to the basket. I'm really crafty. I can finish with both hands. I got all kinds of finishes. Uh, but I'm also really good. I'm, in my opinion, I'm quite good at shooting the three ball, off the catch, off the dribble, doesn't matter. But I'm not as good at shooting the three as I am at finishing around the basket. So my tendencies are towards getting to the basket. I'm pretty quick. I've got a pretty good handle. Again, humble brag here. If you see me play, you know what's up. There's no doubts there. But uh, yeah, so my tendencies are to go to the basket a little bit more as opposed to shooting the three. just because I know I can make like most of those shots versus like shooting the three. It's like, you know, 30 to 50% chance that you're gonna make it. Um, so in the past, I've taken less threes, but in the past couple months, I've kind of like switched my mentality around because I want to like I really wanted to hone shooting threes in game. Like I wasn't taking a lot of threes in game. Like I could shoot around and play horse, and we played this game called Sevens. Um, it's like a 3-point shooting competition essentially, where I do pretty well in. But again, when it came game time, I tend towards going to the basket and getting like fast break type layups. But recently, I've been taking a lot more threes, and the reason I wanted to bring up like being willing to take the big shot, like that's kind of how I feel when I take the threes. Like maybe not to other people, but in my head, like it's like somewhat of a risk, right? I know it's like to me, here's the possession, right? Basketball is a game of possessions, and I'm using this possession for me to shoot a three. Like maybe if I miss, had I gone to the basket, that would have been a better possession, right? So for me, it's a pretty big deal. But I've tried to change my mentality and be like, no, fuck it, like take that shot, man. And especially when it's game time, like when the shots really count, like be comfortable with that, live with that, and um, you know, shoot without hesitation, essentially. So, and I've been shooting quite well recently. Again, humble brag, but I really have like surprising to my own standards. Like I'm feeling pretty good about my game overall, but the shooting in particular as of recently. So, yeah, just like I guess to come back to the main point of all this is like there's a there's a utility in courage to be developed in being willing to take those shots, being willing to live to live with the consequences of that, right? Like if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, it's all good. I'm gonna keep my chin held high and keep on rolling. Try to get it next time. So yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. Uh, let's see, that I thought was really cool. Oh yeah, and the story that I wanted to mention real quick, just because it was so crazy, and it's like really hats off. So my little sister, I got a little sister that she just finished her water polo season. They made it all the way to their section championship, and we're at the game, and it was a great game overall. Like they were up. It's 4 quarters. So it's pretty much if for those people that don't know, it's kind of like soccer in the water. Or really like basketball in the water too. But anyways, they have a ball. They try to score it in the goal. There's like 7 or 8 players on the field at one time. But yeah, it was a great game. My sister's team was up like 2 points, 1 point the entire game, and then literally like the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, the other school ties it up, goes into overtime, and then in like the first 2 minutes of the overtime, the other team scores 2 goals, so my sister's team is down 2 points, and these overtimes are 3 minutes each. There's two of them. So it gets to the second overtime, or the second half of the overtime. And with like a minute and 15 seconds left, they managed to score 2 goals and tie the game up to force it to like a sudden death type of situation. But the way that they scored these goals was crazy. So first one, I don't know the girls by name, but I guess that doesn't really matter. They got a defensive stop, got a fast break, able to score, and there's probably like 40 seconds left. They get another defensive stop. Clock's probably down to like 15, something like that. And the goalie and my sister goes for a counter or like a fast break for basketball terms. The goalie makes a beautiful pass, lead pass to hit my sister, and she's all by herself. She's got two defenders trailing her, and it's one on one with her and the goalie, and they're down 1 point. Long story short, sister shoots the shot, she scores, and they go into overtime. And the crowd goes crazy. Me and my brother and my dad are going crazy, and I'm just like, so happy and so excited for her. Like she really just hit that, bro. Like for the section championship, bro. So crazy that literally like a minute and a half ago they're down 2 points. In my head, I'm like, dang, they had this game in the bag the whole time, and they let them back in, and they're gonna lose like that. That's tough. But here they go, little sis and the other teammate scored 2 goals to bring the game to sudden death, and then they managed to get it out, man. And that was such a cool moment to see, like, little sister take the shot and hit the shot. Like that is what you live for in sports. That is really the epitome of being willing to take the big shot. So that was just such a cool moment, and it happened this past weekend, so it's pretty recent. But yeah, wanted to touch upon that because it was related to the concept. I got a couple more here that I'm just gonna fire off, and um, yeah, we'll get going. The next few are basketball related, and I probably won't spend too much time, but I did want to bring them up just because they're interesting. First one is in regards to Kevin Durant's comments on his team situation. So I'll admit and be upfront and honest that I haven't looked into it extensively, but I did catch like just the quote of what he said, and essentially paraphrasing here, he's like, "What do you expect us to do with the team that we've got? Like, you want me to go out there and beat KD, but we're struggling as a team." And I haven't seen like a variety of reactions yet, but I have seen quite a few, and they're kind of like, "Dang, KD." They're pretty much saying like KD threw his team under the bus. Uh, I think he called out specific people. I'm not 100% sure. Look into it if this is of interest to you. But pretty much I brought this up because Kevin Durant is an interesting person, and I'm gonna try to like, I guess you could say this is a critique, but I guess more so of I try to keep it like as an observation. I'm not trying to, you know, say he's a bad person or anything like that. I'm not trying to speak on who he is, but just as who he is, who he has been as an NBA player and like a basketball player. Um, Watching that over the past, 10, 15 years. There's a lot to say on this. You could probably make a whole conversation, but I respected his decision to join the Warriors as like a personal choice. Like that's your career, that's where you're gonna live and spend your time, and so you want to feel comfortable about where you are. You want to feel like you made the right choice for you. But then as a competitor, I always thought it was a pretty weak move because they had lost to the Warriors the year prior, so joining the opposition is like a big no-no for people that are in high level competition. But such is the nature of sports, and I'm sure Katie is not the only example of that. It's happened plenty of other times in basketball and other sports. But anyways, I respected him for that, and just the whole net situation. Like I get, like a lot of the things are out of his circumstance, and you know, sometimes controversy and just all kinds of weird things just happen around you, and you just get tangled up in that. And I totally get that, and I've heard that from him. I've listened to his podcast. I've listened to him speak extensively. So I try to be empathetic and understanding of who he is as a person and how he's trying to handle these situations. I guess here's the but with this recent thing, and I don't know, I guess again how the whole net situation has been transpiring. I guess the point that I'm trying to get across, or the observation that I've seen, is like Katie is really not a leader, man. He's a great basketball player. He's a good human being. I think he has a good heart. Uh, but it doesn't look like he has the capability of leading a team. And probably people have seen this and observed this for a long time now. But I think with these recent comments, it's become quite evident. Like, yes, your team may not be as good as you would like. Sorry. So I stopped because I think I hear some young fellas yelling. I thought they were fighting, but I think I don't know, maybe they're just hype about something. But yeah, and I guess it really doesn't matter. Like there is no requirement to be a leader, right? Like just because you are one of the best basketball players in the world doesn't mean that you need leadership qualities by no means. Um, but I don't know. I guess it's a little bit disappointing to see how he's handling it. Like you would think he would be a little bit like shoulder the blame a little bit more or try to divert or try to be like, yeah, we're working on it. Like this is a interesting group of people we've got together. We're figuring things out. I'm gonna do my best to help us get along, and see if we could, play some winning basketball. And then he kind of is like, "What do you expect me to do with this team?" And I can only imagine what that must sound like as a teammate, right? Like, dang, like bro doesn't even believe in us like that. Why am I gonna go out there and give my all if that's how he really feels? So something interesting happened recently. It's related to basketball. I'm sure all kinds of people are talking about it now. KD is an interesting guy again, just because of how his career has transpired. So take from it what you will. Just an observation. Again, no one's required to be a leader. KD has the right to say whatever he wants to say and conduct himself as a basketball player. And it's just something to watch. And then the last thing, basketball related, that I did want to bring up that was interesting is related to the Warriors, actually. So if you don't know, I'm a big Warriors fan, and the Warriors have been struggling quite hard recently. But it's all good. I think, long story short, it's still early in the season. It's quite a new team, so there's a lot of figuring out to do and trying to figure out what the right rotations are and who plays well with who. So, and I also think uh, the NBA is just getting really good, man. Especially in the regular season, it's like a situation where on any given night, and it's been like this for a couple of years, in my opinion. On any given night, anybody could beat anybody, right? Everybody has a puncher's chance because people are so talented. Um, and maybe it's the fact that the Warriors are the defending champions, so they have a target on their back every time. Like every time you step on the court with these guys, that is the measuring stick. Like if you can beat them, it's probably a good sign for your team. So everybody's going to give their best when they're playing their Warriors, the Warriors. So yeah, that's all to say about like how their season has gone so far. I'm not too concerned. Regular season is important, right? Because you want to build the foundation, you want to develop the right habits, figure out all the things you need to do as a team, figure out your identity, play style, schemes, all that. But still early, and really it counts like, let's say, the last month and a half of the season, right? Getting ready for the playoffs and then actually performing in the playoffs. That's a whole nother separate thing. So all to say, not too concerned. Obviously, they got to fix things, but we have a long season to go. But I just wanted to call out Klay Thompson, man. Really interesting situation there. If you aren't familiar, this is a person that has come back from two pretty serious injuries: an ACL sprain, I don't tear, ACL tear, and Achilles tear. So in basketball, pretty serious injuries back to back. So they say he's still, still finding his way, like still finding his rhythm, getting his play back, and all that stuff, getting comfortable, getting his legs under him. But, 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 it seems, and I haven't watched all the games like full out, but it seems to be clear that his shot selection is pretty bad. And from the games that I've seen, it looks to be right. Like, and I'll try to give both sides of this, right? Like, on the one hand, his shot selection is pretty bad. He's taking contested shots. He's shooting, off balance, or he's shooting shots where the ball doesn't really move around, so it's kind of like an empty possession, right? Like it definitely is not the best shot that the team could get at that time. And then they're not timely either, right? Like it'll be close game or uh, the Warriors have an opportunity to take the lead or maintain a lead, and he throws up a brick, and the team goes down and gets like a 3-point play, 4-point play, whatever it may be. So these kinds of things, like in basketball, momentum shifts, and I'm sure in other sports too, but momentum shifts are really, really, they happen a lot, and they can happen at any time. So a couple bad shots here and there can really mess you up. Um, and it's interesting, man. Again, so the other side of this is that Klay Thompson is one of the best 3-point shooters to play basketball. Uh, so really, any shot that he's taking, like it does have a good chance. But for whatever reason, he is definitely in a slump at the moment. It's pretty clear. Everybody sees it. But I think the reason I wanted to bring this up is the way that he might be handling it. Now, obviously, I don't know him. I don't know what's going on in his mind. But some people will say, like, he's essentially trying to force his way out of the slump. And I think the response, maybe another response to consider in all of this is, and I'm sure other people said the same thing, is like letting the game come to you, right? And I'm sure this is a principle that you can apply across all sports, but it's true. Like, let the game come to you. Um, don't try to force your way. Don't try to force shots and get your own looks, right? Let it happen naturally. Get it within the flow of the offense. Um, and I hope he does that. Again, it's a long season. It really counts in the playoffs time. So there's still a lot of time to get things sorted out. But I think he will have to have like some serious reflection. Really think about like, am I doing too much? Right? It's a real thing in sports. Like, am I trying to force my way out of this and do too much? And am I hurting my team? Right? Versus you know, doing what the team needs, playing defense, getting rebounds, moving the ball, and then letting the game come to me and finding my shots within the offense. So, Klay Thompson, something to think about. Hopefully, the Warriors pick it up. But a couple more here that I wanted to touch upon. Nancy Pelosi. I just saw that she won't be, I guess, running for re-election or the leadership position. I don't know if she's still going to be in Congress. I don't know the details of that. But yeah, she won't try to be Speaker of the House anymore, which I guess is really interesting. Nancy Pelosi, what a character, eh? She's been in Congress for a long time. And the reason I brought her up is just to talk about the whole idea that she's involved in, or her husband rather, is involved in stock trading. And a lot of people in Congress are actually involved in stock trading, which is quite suspicious to say the least. And the reason I bring this up is because every time it's brought up to her, at least from what I've seen recently, she's very, very dismissive of it. She's like, no, that's definitely not happening. Everything is legitimate, and you know, we don't have to worry about people in Congress trading stocks or holding stocks while they're serving. Like after, I'm sure it's all good. Who knows? But uh, yeah, I always thought that was pretty shady of Nancy Pelosi. Like, and for a lot of people, from what I've read and heard, it's just an example of like blatant. You call it corruption, call it white collar crime, um, exploitation of the system, exploitation of their position in society, right? And I think for a lot of regular people, that's the type of stuff that really, really rubs people the wrong way. Like, here I am, I'm a normal person, working my job, 9 to 5, whatever, working minimum wage or something close to it, slightly above it. And here's this person in Congress who has all this power, all this status, and they get to benefit from being on the inside of the system, and there's no accountability. That's really the biggest thing, is like there's absolutely no accountability, and it's clear as day. It's clear as day. Like there was a Twitter account that had been following her trades, and for whatever reason the Twitter account got suspended. So you know, take from that what you will. And you know, yeah, Nancy Pelosi, interesting character. again, it really, and I'll be honest, it definitely rubs me the wrong way. I guess that's why I'm bringing it up. Like when people ask you about it, like, do you think that's like the questions is like, do you even think that's a consideration? Like, should we consider this a problem? And she's just like, no, 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 it's no, no, no. Just shut down all conversation, like as if there's no valid critique of this. Um, so yeah, wanted to bring that up. Anyhow, I think I want to wrap this up on a light note. The midterms just finished pretty much. One of the things that has always stuck with me for a long time is the division in our country. And if you know me and you remember, there was a point where I had a website up, and I still do have a Substack where my writing is available. But the inspiration behind all of it, and part of this, these dialogues, this podcast, is to talk about that. And a lot of people are, and to encourage some sort of common ground, some sort of reconciliation, being able to come together, recognize our bigger problems, and get away from this concept of like right and left, Republican, Democrat, your team, my way is the right way, you're the crazy one, yada, yada, yada. Like, we really need to stop, pause, evaluate the problems before us, prioritize them, figure out really, honestly, through open and respectful dialogue, how we're going to move forward. What are the viable strategies and solutions, and not get ideological and be dogmatic and be like, no, 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 just because you're team red that we can't listen to your ideas or vice versa. Like, no, like, shut the fuck up. Honestly, like, I don't know, maybe you could say this of any time in history, but it really does feel like the stakes are high these days. So I know it doesn't really sound like a lot of no, but I do want to put that out there. I do want to put this energy out there. Like, we need to find a way to come together uh, if we're going to have any chance of solving our problems. But who knows? Maybe this is coming together isn't the right move. Maybe there's I guess this is kind of a crazy idea, but maybe there is some type of separation that might need to be considered. Who knows? I err on the side of unifying because I think although there are many, many valid criticisms of the United States as a whole in its history, I think so far it it seems to be the place that has allowed for the most prosperity. Um, there's no There's no reason so many people would be wanting to come here for a better life, for a better future for themselves and for their kids if that wasn't the case. So maybe there were other time periods where life was prosperous and people were thriving and had everything that they need, but in terms of government and personal freedoms and economic opportunities and healthcare and social cultural opportunities, all this kind of stuff. But it does seem like the United States is the place to be and the time to be. So empires do fall, and if we're not careful, if we don't take this seriously, and we continue to point fingers at one another and put blame, who knows if we're going to be able to sort our way through this. So I really want to do put that energy out there, like, hey, like, please, like, put your ideological beliefs aside and really try to listen and empathize with another person's perspective. And I guess there's a concept I could talk about it next time, but it's really the idea is an intellectually honest person should be able to steelman the opposing perspective, I think, period. If you aren't willing to give the other side the best possible argument it has, then you're just uh, you're just contributing to the problem in my opinion. You're just sticking your feet in the ground, which sometimes maybe is the right thing to do. But I think for me personally, I want to be able to give the other side its valid argument, its valid position. So do your best. Encourage people to do that. Yeah, listen to people that do that. Listen to other people that you would not agree with, or you'd be like disgusted to listen to. give it an opportunity. And you're not going to agree with everything, right? You're not. But at the least, be able to listen. And who knows, right? By some chance, maybe you'll come across something that you do actually enjoy and resonates with you. So that's a wrap. I hope that felt like ending on a good note. It is an encouragement. It really is from the bottom of my heart. It's something that I think is really important for our time, for our future. For people with kids, do it for their future. And yeah, that's a wrap for podcast number 5. 55 minutes, the longest one yet. Ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, shoot me a message. Let me know what you think. I'd really appreciate it. So, thank you for listening and hope to see you next time.